tonight's class, like all our classes, is never, never, ever an attack on a particular rabbi or writer. It is a passionate attack on my part regarding the topic at hand. When it comes to the Siddur, everything in the Siddur is sacred to me, whether we are dealing with the order of the prayers, the customs of the prayers, the dikduk of the prayers. It's something that hits my heart very, very closely. And when I see something that I disagree with, I feel like that I must speak out and give my opinion based upon the sources the way I see them. Once again, the source that I'm going to be reading from tonight that I will be criticizing is a source that I respect and not a source that I am attacking on a personal level whatsoever.
March 7th, 2018. So, this past Shabbat, David Batesh sends me an article, if you will, or a write-up, or a halakha summary by somebody in the community regarding Birkot HaShahar. And I'm going to read excerpts from this piece, and we'll discuss it. And if we need to pull out sources, so I have a few sources behind me. It says over here, as most know, every morning after waking we recite 19 blessings. Lie. There's no 19 blessings. Open your Siddurim. If you need a Siddur, I'll go get you one. There's no 19 blessings. So I don't know where that first statement comes from. Okay? Who wants to count Birkot HaShahar?
Give me a Siddur.
I'll get you a Siddur.
So we've got one.
Let's go. Count me my 19 blessings.
Sounds like a movie.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, sorry again.
I'm not going to count Elohai. Oh, should I count Elohai Neshama?
I'm not telling you what you should count. You count me 19 blessings.
Oh, yeah.
I say there's no 19 blessings.
What do you say? Okay, so
Got it.
then 1, 2, 3,
19.
You have 19. I don't have 19, but okay.
1,
You got 18.
Nitilat Yadayim has nothing to do with it. Birkat Ashay Yasar has nothing to do with it.
Oh, okay.
No.
You're not counting that?
No, of course not.
Okay, fine. Elohai Neshama, I don't know. Does it count?
You tell me if it counts.
It's a Berakhah, yeah. At the end of it, I would say it's a
So
blessing.
count
I don't
it.
know.
Let's pull them.
I never thought about it. You know what I'm saying?
Nitilat Yadayim is not part of Birkot HaShahar.
Fine. Okay.
And Ashay Yasar is not part of Birkot HaShahar.
7. This is not part of it either.
Does anybody know what Birkot HaShahar are?
It says right here.
Yeah.
Great. So let's see Birkot HaShahar. Okay? How many Berachot do we have? So far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And it continues over there, and you want to call it 17. That's it. Okay? There are no 19.
So where are you ending as your last Berakhah?
Gomer, Hasadim, Tovim, Na'amo Yisrael.
Birkat Torah.
Because the Torah is a different issue. It's not part of Birkot HaShahar.
Why not?
Because it's not. So you want to count it? So you, what do you call it? So we ended at 17. So now we're going to add 18, 19, 20. We're at 20 then. We're still not at 19. So we're either at 17 or at 20.
So what was the writing that I read?
We're going to continue now. So it says, as most know, every morning after waking we recite 19 blessings. These are blessings that have to do with transition from a sleepy night to an active day. Fine. We bless God for giving us vision, clothing, for creating us the way we are, etc. The problem is that the Talmud only mentions 18 blessings. Where did the 19th come from? Okay? Since we don't have 19, the Talmud doesn't say 18 either. We have an established principle that we do not create any new blessings after the close of the Talmud. That is not 100% agreed upon. That's commonly believed today, but it was not always the case. Any blessing that the Talmud did not create is forbidden to be recited and can be considered a blessing in vain, which happens to be a severe offense. So, obviously, the writer of this article seems to know things that many Rishonim didn't know, because Rishonim did have other berachot, and they did say other things, and they instituted other berachot. And we have as well a rule of Berakhah for a minhag. And whether we say a Berakhah for a minhag or not, and it's discussed, and the ruling is that we do say a Berakhah for a minhag. Okay? The easiest case in point for the people at this table, which some of you may disagree with, but whether you do or not, we say Berakhah for lighting Nerot Hanukkah in the Beit Knesset. That's considered a minhag. For those that follow a very old tradition that still exists among many Sephardi and Ashkenazi communities, there is the recitation of Berakhah for Hasi Hallel on Rosh Chodesh. That's also a minhag, and a Berakhah is recited. There is the recitation of Birkat Shahyanu at a Brit Milah. That's also a minhag, not a halakha. And the list goes on and on. There are many cases like this. So to say that this is a Berakhah, or as he says, a blessing in vain, which is a severe offense, obviously many Rishonim and as well Hanonim disagree with him.
I think, can I interject a minute?
Please interject. I'm expecting that.
Okay. Just in his, on the author's behalf, he's talking about a Berakhah that, those are all Berachot, the examples that you cited, are Berachot that were instituted by Anshe Knesset, Ezra Beitino.
I don't believe that.
Matbeah.
I don't believe that.
I'm just saying.
You have no source to tell me that any of the Berachot were.
Regardless, they're in the Gemara, those. And Hanoten Laya'ef Koah, the one he was talking about, is not mentioned in the Gemara. That's what he's saying.
We have the Geonim. The Geonim established Berachot. Besides the Berakhah of, besides the Berakhah of Hanoten Laya'ef Koah, which is instituted, at least we know about it from Rishonim, who mention it as a Berakhah from the Geonim. We have straight out Geonim telling us two Berachot to add into Birkot HaShahar, one being Magbiyah Shefalim and one being Somech Nofelim. And it's instituted by the Geonim. And they're telling us that they instituted it. So to say that Berakhah has to be instituted prior to that is obviously something that was not agreed upon till much later on.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Just saying what his assumption was.
I understand what his assumption is, because he's following a certain school of thought.
Right.
But to write an article and not give the people the truth is not fair either.
I don't think he knew it.
I think he does. Okay? Let's continue. I'll tell you why I think he does, because later on he's going to quote a specific rabbi, if I'm not mistaken. And that rabbi is Rabbi Arusi. Okay? Rabbi Arusi is one of the Yemenite rabbis, a great rabbi, not to belittle him at all, he's tremendous, but it follows this mindset of Rambam ends it all. And we do not work on such a principle. As great as Harambam was, our Torah did not end at Harambam. Our Torah continued, and halakha uses the word halakha from holech. It's constantly evolving and moving. It is not stagnant. It's not stuck in the year 1204 when Harambam passed away. It didn't end. So we can't say that it ended over there, even though there are people that want to take such a stance. And that's why this bothers me.
You're irritated? You bothered?
I'm very irritated by it. Before we get to the 19th blessing, again, he keeps talking about this 19th blessing. There is also some difficulty over the 15th blessing. The blessing is, "Blessed are you that has not made me a woman." Now, if he wants to follow the Talmud, if this is in the Talmud, this shouldn't be bothering him. So he has to make up his mind what position he wants to take. Either he wants to be a Talmud hardliner or he wants to be a modern feminist. He's got to pick one or the other. Obviously, a woman cannot recite that blessing as it would not make sense. Nobody's telling her to say it. So what should a woman do? Firstly, it is important to know that women do not need to say the Berakhah Shahar at all. So he answered his own question, so he shouldn't have started to begin with. A woman is obligated to pray to God once daily. Great. They are not obligated to pray specific prayers or at specific times. Fine. Of course, if a woman wants to pray more of the prayers, she is permitted to, just like any other act that she is not obligated to do, but is permitted to do. Some people will disagree with that. Some people will say that women cannot say more than what is allotted for them, because then it becomes Berakhah lebatala, something he is trying to fight against. So once again, he's not consistent in what he has to say. Berakhah Shahar is similar. She can say that if she wants to, but does not need to. If she does not want to, she should simply skip that blessing. However, some have invented a new blessing, Sha'asani Kirsono, that made me as I am. Since this is not a blessing that was written in the Talmud, one cannot and should not recite it. But as we know in our Sidurim, it generally says that a woman says this without Shem Malchut. Baruch Sha'asani Kirsono. So again, he should have no problem. Some people will recite it without using God's name. There's the some people, that's the majority of us. So as not to violate reciting God's name in vain. That is okay. But it is simpler to simply not to say anything instead of reciting an invented half blessing. So give them a choice and don't fight about it. It is also important to remember that Rabbi Arusi explains that women are not allowed to say the Birkot Torah that men normally say at the end of Birkot Shahar. So he's agreeing that at the end of Birkot Shahar we have separate Berachot called Birkot Torah. Okay? Thus proving once again that there are no 19 blessings that he's talking about. The reason for this is that they do not have an obligation in Torah study. They do have an obligation to learn all the laws that are relevant to them. Kashrut, Shabbat, Niddah, laws of stealing, honesty, laws of the holidays, marriage, Niddah, etc. He said Niddah twice. But they are not obligated in the specific mitzvah of Torah study. This blessing is on the mitzvah of Torah study, and since they are not allowed to, but not obligated to, they are not allowed to make that blessing, just like they cannot make the blessing on the lulab, which we've proven in this class that they can make a berakhah on lulab, sukkah, shofar, talet, tefillin. We've proven otherwise. So again, it's taking one track mind and showing that you can only do one thing and not showing divergent opinions. Just like the 15th blessing was a later introduction, similarly we have a problem with the invented 7th blessing, invented, Hanoten Laya'ef Koah, that gives strength to the tired weak. This blessing was not written by the Talmud, and therefore it is forbidden to recite it, and violates reciting a Berakhah levatala, a blessing in vain, since it is not an authorized blessing. Now I didn't go searching, but supposedly there are certain manuscripts of the Talmud where that Berakhah does appear. I have not seen them, so I cannot vouch for them. I do not know the origin of those manuscripts, what countries and what time period, so I can't really comment on it, but supposedly they exist. So it could be that our current Talmud just doesn't have it, and they did exist in earlier versions. As we know, we are allowed to recite God's name when reading verses for the Torah, and even when reading God's name in the Talmud and such. The only exception is when God's name appears in a blessing. In that situation, it is forbidden to recite His name unless it is an authorized blessing and is said in the proper situation. That's also not agreed upon. According to many sources, if you are learning something and a Berakhah comes up, you are allowed to say Shem Hashem. Some sources say you can, some sources say you cannot. But once again, he's telling you flat out you cannot. Rabbi Yosef Karo, in his Beit Yosef, writes, since this blessing is not mentioned in the Talmud, I do not know how any man had the permission to establish this blessing. Yes, Shulchan Aruch does say that, but we'll get to that. In his Shulchan Aruch he writes, there are those that are accustomed to blessing Hanoten Laya'ef Koah but their practice is not appropriate, and dibrehim nir'in. Yet despite this, the blessing is found in almost all of our Sidurim. Yes, it is found in our Sidurim today. It wasn't found in our Sidurim in the past. It's something that evolved over time. It seems that the reason for this is that the Kabbalists, who at times are at odds with traditional Talmudic law, supported the recitation of this blessing. That's definitely a big part of it, but not all of it. They argue that the Amidah was originally 18 blessings and became 19, so they increased the morning blessings to 19 as well. I have found nothing to support this. Okay, not in any Kabbalistic writings whatsoever. And I did go looking for them. The strange situation is that today, if someone did not say the morning blessings, that is less problematic than someone who opens the Siddur and recites all of them, seemingly violating the severe transgression of reciting God's name in vain. So he's telling you, stop saying Birkat al-Shahar.
If you're going to say that.
If you're going to say that, which most people are going to say, because it's in the book.
Okay.
So now, cut them all out, because he is of the opinion that this one Berakhah of Hanoten Laya'ef Koah, which appears in all our Sidurim, okay, which all of our rabbis, as far as I know, say it, but it's out, and therefore, most people that will read this, you know what, fine, I'll pass on all Birkat al-Shahar. I think that's a bigger problem, but he feels the opposite. How is it that, now here he goes, how is it that most of our Sidurim go directly against the Talmud, the law, and the Shulchan Aruch? Aren't blanks taught to always follow Shulchan Aruch? There are times when the Shulchan Aruch changes the original traditional law, such as by saying not to wear tefillin on Hala Mu'ayd. Again, this is not changing a Talmudic law. Law evolves. It is not static. The blank people say we must follow Shulchan Aruch blindly, even against traditional practice. I don't know anybody who says that. If a non-blank decides to follow the original unreformed law as it was originally written against the later Shulchan Aruch, he is chastised for not following Shulchan Aruch. I don't know anybody that ever chastised anybody for following Shulchan Aruch or not following Shulchan Aruch. But when a blank follows a practice that is a reform from the original practice and even against the practice of Shulchan Aruch, then it is okay. He's spinning circles for no reason. Seems like everyone picks and chooses as they see fit, which we know is true. Everybody does choose as they see fit based upon their understanding of the sources. And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go and study and understand things for yourself. And then yells at everyone else for not picking and choosing the same. Do you recite Hanoten Laya'ef Koah? In all your years of yeshiva education and attending synagogue, has anyone ever explained to you that this blessing is not sanctioned by Jewish law? So according to him, at least for the last couple of 100 years, everybody's wrong. And he's only right. Or does Jewish law no longer matter? And are we just happy to do whatever the neighbor does? It all starts with education. So be educated and educate the people instead of writing a half article. One can make the choice that he does not want to follow Talmudic law and halakha, but he should at least be taught that this is the choice he is making. Too many today make that choice but don't know that this is the choice that is being made for them without their informed consent. I think this article is a very unfair article. It does not present an entire picture. It does not explain anything. It's only giving his opinion, and even his opinion makes no sense because it contradicts himself. That's the way I take it. Go ahead, and then we'll pull out sources.
Wait, first you said you're going to talk about Shulchan Aruch and Hanoten Laya'ef Koah.
Well, I'm going to get to it. Don't worry. Let's go. Mark, you're sitting there, been on your phone for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Shoot away.
I was following along with you.
No, shoot away though.
No, I don't have anything.
You have nothing to say?
No, I think you're right. You have to present all sides of this.
You definitely have to present all sides of it.
Now we know that.
Let's ask on this table. Is anybody here who does not say this Berakhah?
Say it.
Do you say it, Mark?
I don't.
You don't say it. So why don't you say answer me when I say it if you don't say it or not?
No, I'm just positing.
No, but tell me.
No, I just don't, because I follow that school of thought of Rabbi Arusi, yeah.
Okay, so you follow that school of thought.
But I didn't know, like he did, like I think he didn't know, I didn't know that the Geonim and the Rishonim bring it down. My research showed that it was really an Aharonim that brought up the
Sefer Mizvot Gedolot has it there very clearly.
Okay.
Okay, Seder Hayom, Seder Hayom was we've discussed him in the class in the past, Bi Moshe Machir. He lived in Ein Zeytun. Ein Zeytun was a village outside of Safed, and he lived approximately at that same time when Maran and the Ari were both in Safed. They overlapped by some years, but as far as we can tell, there was no contact between them. And he wrote that this was an established custom that they were doing in Safed. Okay? So, it's definitely there. That the Tur tells us that was Minhag Ashkenaz, we definitely know that as well.
Right.
Okay, so there are definitely some sources that prove that at an early time it existed pre-Kabbalistic influence, if you will. So I don't think it's that late as people want others to think. As far as making it,
Why do you say pre-Kabbalistic? Wasn't you going back to Safed? That is Kabbalistic.
No,
no, but I'm saying it was there before the Kabbalists.
Okay.
That's what I'm telling you. Okay. Now, Sefer Mitzvot Gedolot definitely goes way before that. Now, as far as Kabbalah, so here's where the Kabbalah really comes in. The famous student of the Ari, Ari we know is Rabbi Ishaq Luria Ashkenazi. His most famous student, Maharhu, Bihayim Vital, clearly writes, because he's really our source for anything of the Ari, he writes everything that his rabbi and master did and taught. And he tells us that he made this Berakhah. And here's the interesting thing. You have the Knesset HaGedolah, who we've brought up in class before. Right, David?
And Minister.
So he was living in Turkey. And he writes in Knesset HaGedolah, let's pull it out. Knesset HaGedolah is a commentary on the Tur and Beit Yosef. And he writes over here regarding this Berakhah. Here we go. עמוד בית שתה כ"ט והכי נקטינן. וכן כתב בספר אות אמת ומנהגנו לאומרה בלי הזכרת שם ומלכות. Says there is a source that says no, make the Berakhah anyway, but since you have this specific, you don't want to go against Shulchan Aruch, say it without Shem Malchut. And there are others that say don't make the Berakhah. Then he writes, וזה כמו 3 שנים בא פה תיריה תלמיד חכם מארץ הסבי. Because about 3 years ago, a Talmid Hacham from Israel came here to Turkey, to the city of Tyria, where he was living. V'ya'id, and he gave testimony. Sheshama, that he heard. Sherabbenu HaMechaber, in other words, Rabbi Yosef Karo. Hazar bo besof yamav, he retracted at the end of his life. V'haya umra behazkarat shem umalchut al pi Kabbalah. He did retract at the end of his life, and he began saying the Berakhah Hanoten Laya'ef Koah with Shem Hashem, in other words, Baruch Atah Hashem, Hanoten Laya'ef Koah, okay, based upon the Kabbalah. ועל פי עדות זו נהגו קצת לברכך בשם מלכות. And based upon this testimony, other people started to follow suit and make this Berakhah with Shem Malchut. וגערתי בהם. Okay, so now back to the Knesset HaGedolah. Knesset HaGedolah is telling us again, B'Chaim Ben Ministry, that I reprimanded them. שלא מפני עדות המעי ששמע על פי השמועה נניח מה שכתוב. We cannot take this testimony of somebody who didn't hear it directly from Rabbi Yosef Karo, but says he heard it about Rabbi Yosef Karo. We only could follow what's written. Because this may lead us to saying Berachot lebatala. ועוד שהטענה שכתב רבנו שמאחר שלא נזכרה בגמרא אין לנו רשות לאומרה טענה יפה היא. And the position of the Shulchan Aruch, who said that this is not mentioned in the Talmud, it's a very valid position to take, and it's very hard to go against that. כמו שכתב הראש על ברכת פדיון הבן שמעשה בתשובות הגאונים שמאחר שלא הוזכרה זו בגמרא אין לאומרה. So there's a Berakhah for pidyon haben, not the regular Berakhah, but there's another Berakhah after the pidyon, the main gist of the pidyon goes on. There's another Berakhah to say, and the Rosh said since this Berakhah is not in the Talmud, you shouldn't say it or say it without Shem Malchut. So the same type of argument Knesset Gedolah is telling us, and he's telling you not to say it. But nevertheless, there is testimony that Rabbi Yosef Karo did start to say it. Now, besides Rabbi Yosef Karo, you have the Piri Hadash. The Piri Hadash, okay, Rabbi Hiskiah de Silva, who was in Yerushalayim, and he was constantly at odds with much of what was written in the Shulchan Aruch. And because of that, different Hachamim in different countries came out and banned his books. Okay, that's how much the connection to Shulchan Aruch was. But nevertheless, he wrote that here in Yerushalayim, practically everybody says this Berakhah, except for me and a few others. But he's telling you it's an established minhag in Yerushalayim. Later still, we have the Hidah. Now the Hidah goes one step further. The Hidah tells us that not only do we say this Berakhah, and that everybody says this Berakhah, and it is well established to say this Berakhah in every country, in every city that I have traveled the world to, and the Hidah, as we know, was a world traveler. He went all over the place. In every Ashkenaz community, every Sepharad community, he was there. And he says, everybody says it. And he says, the Ari said to say it, and just knowing that the Ari said to say it, okay, besides his Ruach HaKodesh and all the knowledge that he had, because if the Shulchan Aruch knew that the Ari was saying it, then for sure he would have changed his position on it. In other words, he wasn't familiar with what the Knesset Gedolah wrote. All right, doesn't seem like it at least. And he says for sure he would have changed his position, and this is the way to go, and there's really absolutely no reason not to be making this Berakhah. This position of the Hidah wrote it in his Birkei Yosef, in his Shiur Berakhah, in Tob Ayin, and in Kesher Godel. He wrote it in 4 different books. He wrote the same thing. That's how strongly he felt about his position on this. So there's definitely a lot of movement regarding this Berakhah and how it was viewed and accepted or unaccepted by a very small amount of people. Okay? Over time, this Berakhah got into the Sidurim. Now the question is, did it start off in the Sidurim or didn't it start off in the Sidurim? Our biggest problem is that Hebrew printing didn't start till about 1490? So, finding manuscripts of Sidurim that include Birkot HaShahar are very, very difficult. Practically non-existent. So that makes it much harder. And most of them just tell you, say Birkot HaShahar before starting to pray. They don't give you the Birkot HaShahar. So that makes, because I looked at a few different manuscripts and they all say Birkot HaShahar. Because it's taken for granted that everybody knows what Berakhah Shahar are. Something you learn from when you're born, and that's it. They didn't have to write it anyplace.
What about some of these modern, republications of the Geonic Sidurim?
Right.
That are around? I mean, I have never seen it. Have you?
Yeah, I've seen it. So the Sidurim of the Geonim that I've seen, there's only 2 Geonim that have Sidurim. Okay, Amram and Sa'adiyah. Okay. So neither one of them that I've seen have it. But there are others, there are different versions of Sa'adiyah on Sidur, and some supposedly have it, because they're quoted, with page references and everything. I just haven't seen those. Okay. In Amram it's not there. But this Maghbiya Shifadim is there. So what do you do with that? Do you start saying it? Now the old Italian Nosach, okay, the old Italian way of praying, the old Italian Sidurim Mahzurim, all have this Berakhah of Maghbiya Shifadim, with Shem Malchut, Baruch, Atam, Maghbiya Shifadim. It's all there. Regular Berakhah. Some of these old Italian books mention Hanoten Laya'ef Koah, some do not. So Me'ech Noflim, you find it mentioned by different Rishonim. I haven't seen it in a printed Sidur. So everything again, once again, is fluid. Nothing is static. Everything develops. What else do we want to say? Oh, let's talk again about Sidurim. So we're talking about Sidurim. Something else over here. Just one other thing. Here. This is quoting a few different sources regarding Minhag Yerushalayim. It says, "Minhag Pashut b'Yerushalayim tibbaneh v'tikonen b'mira b'yamin u'amen nomar b'berkot ha'shahar berkat Hanoten Laya'ef Koah." And we're not talking about something that was written 10 years ago. We're talking about something that was written 150 years ago, quoting things that are 150 years before that. So at least 300 years, 400 years, we know this Berakhah has been said in Yerushalayim. And obviously from there, the Hachamim of Yerushalayim, as we know, spread out throughout the world, and that's how many Minhagim developed based upon the Hachamim of Eretz Israel. Now, this book, Ali Hadas, B. Daniel Sedbon, a Tunisian, he writes very interesting things about Minhagim. So this is very modern. He's still alive. But he quotes, everything. And he has a very interesting view here on this Berakhah. And he said, as far as he can tell, that most probably a few hundred years ago, the Berakhah was not said in Tunis, but over time it developed to be said. And he said, yes, granted, the Berakhah is not mentioned in the Shelosha Amudei Hora'ah. It's not mentioned in the Rambam, the Rif, and the Rosh. Okay? And it seems to come from the Rishonim, and he goes through the Rishonim that mention it, etc. Then he goes a different angle, based upon the Sidurim. And he says like this. Mihu, Hufta'ati lir'ot, שבסידורים ליסבון, שנת רן, נפולי, שנת רן, רחם וניסי, שנת לפד, מופיע ברכה זאת. You heard that? So the first Sephardic Sidurim, the first printed, published Sephardic Sidurim, we're talking about Lisbon, Portugal, 1490, Napoli, Italy, 1490, and Venice, Italy, 1524. These are the earliest three Sephardic Sidurim. This Berakhah is there in all of them. Okay? This predates Kabbalistic influence. Yes.
It predates the Ari.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it predates, what else? The printing of Shulchan Aruch. Keep that in mind.
It was more like 1520s, 1530s or later.
Shulchan Aruch, 1564.
Okay, there you go.
But it's post Zohar.
What?
Post Zohar.
Post Zohar, okay, but it's not mentioned in the Zohar.
Okay.
It's not a Berakhah from the Zohar. It's not brought up any place in the Zohar. No. Okay, so the three earliest Sephardic Sidurim all have this Berakhah. That's crucial. They also, Yahad im Berkat Maghbiya Shifadim. They also have the Berakhah of Maghbiya Shifadim. She'af hi lo muzkeret b'Talmud. It's also not mentioned in the Talmud. إلا شيبيوتها بمحزور فيتري سيدور هالوقيح بأبو درهم. And it's mentioned in these sources, Mahzor Vitri, which as we know is from France, Sidur HaRuqayyah, which was Germany, and Abu Dirham, which was Spain. Abu Dirham also mentions Hanoten Laya'ef Koah, by the way.
So how did Maghbiya Shifalim get dropped, do you think?
That's a class on its own.
Don't know how it got dropped. But I didn't look into how it got dropped because the Italians still have it in their books.
Okay.
Maybe that's the 19th he's talking about.
Maybe. That would have been the 18th though.
Oh.
Still not 19.
The other one they didn't say.
Yeah, the Somech Noflim.
Oh, yeah.
That one he probably doesn't even know about.
That's 19.
בסידורים אלו משנת רן ושנת רפ"ד, these סידורים of 1490 and 1524, הם הראשונים בנוסח הספרדים שהופיעו מאז המצאת הדפוס. These are the first printed Sephardic Sidurim, from when Hebrew printing began. לכן נראה שגם בקהילות הספרדים לפחות כיצד נהגו בזמן קדמון לברך נותן ליעף כוח. So it would seem that at least some Sephardim were saying this Berakhah from an early, time. אמנם אחרי שנדפס השולחן ערוך בשנת שקד, after the Shulchan Aruch was published in 1564, נראה שכל הסידורים שיעשו לאור אחר כך השמיטו ברכה זאת. After the initial publishing of Shulchan Aruch in 1564, all the Sephardic Sidurim dropped this Berakhah. וכן ליטא בסידור וניסיה שנח ושסה. It doesn't appear in the Venice Sidurim of 1598 and 1601. Amsterdam טעו, Amsterdam 1716. ועוד הרבה סידורים מאותה תקופה שהיו תחת עיניי. And also many other Sidurim from the same time period that I was able to check, is what he's telling you. איבר שבגלות נגלות תורת הארי. And obviously we have now the Torah of the Ari, the teachings of the Kabbalah, the Lurianic Kabbalah. התחילו אט הספרדים לאמץ לעצמם מנהג זה. So then the Sephardim started to pick up on this custom once again. ובפרט שנמשכו אחרי הארי כמה גאונים שהשפעתם על קהילות ספרדים הייתה עצומה. And especially through many great Hachamim who were very into the teachings of the Ari and who had a lot of influence among the practices of the Sephardim throughout the world. Kigon, Marara Haidar, Birkei Yosef, like the Haidar, B'Hayim Yosef David Azula in his Birkei Yosef. Or Mahari Ayash, Matei Yudar, Bihuda Ayash, who was from Morocco and he influenced all of North Africa. Ve'od, Ayem B'Kaf Hayim. But this was a long process. In the beginning, this Berakhah only started to be said in Eretz Israel. And only slowly did it get to countries outside, to communities outside of Eretz Israel. And here is some proof. And then he goes through the Piri Hadash and Mahari Molcho and Khalifa Malka and Ma'amar Mordechai, etc., etc. Okay? I'm going to fast forward over here. And if we continue to examine the Sidurim that were published throughout the generations, because as we mentioned, once Shulchan Aruch was published in 1564, this Berakhah disappeared from Sephardic Sidurim. בדורות האחרונים, אחד מהסידורים הראשונים שראיתי שהביא ברכה זאת הוא הסידור תפילת ישרים, אמסטרדם, שנת תק. So the first of the sidurim that I've been able to find that has this berakhah once again is Tfilat Yesharim, published in Amsterdam in 1740. Okay, Al Yedei Harab Gaon Rabbi David Mildola. David Mildola was the one who edited and published the Sidur. והיה אחד מהסידורים הראשונים שהפיס נוסחאות ומנהגי הארי בקרב הספרדים. This is one of the first sidurim that started to bring out the practices of the Ari for the general public. אלא שהדפיס ברכה זו באותיות שונות. But even though it published this berakhah within the Sidur, it published it in a different font. קטנות יותר משאר הברachot, smaller than the regular font of the Sidur. Also in Sidur B'Tefillah, published in Kushta 1735, it's also brought in a smaller font without vowelization. And the Sidur of Rabbi Abraham is Hak Castillo, called Tefillah Zakah, which was published in Livorno in 1789. The Berakhah is there in parentheses. וכן הוא בדפוסים הראשונים של הסידור המפורסם תפילת החודש. In the earliest printings of Tefillat HaChodesh, we've discussed in class before, Tefillat HaChodesh, like the printing of Molcho of 1725, the printing of Tubiana of 1728, the printing of Ottolenghi in 1738, it's all there. Okay? So, and he keeps going on through different versions of the Sidurim when they're published and how it appears. So let's show you two different things.
So this guy really knows his stuff.
Yeah, he knows his stuff. Cool.
You know him?
Do I know him personally? No, I don't know.
See if you can come to class.
No, so we could write him a letter. See him come get it.
This is a Siddur printed in Salonika, 1741. Same time period we're talking about, right? Because he's mentioned 1740 was the first one that had it.
That's just a new binding, isn't it?
The binding, yeah, it's just a leather binding, nothing.
But the book is really.
The book is real.
I can see that.
The book is real.
That's amazing.
Okay? So this book, what's special about this Siddur that is based upon the writings of Rabbi Hayim Kohen. Rabbi Hayim Kohen was one of the greatest Hachamim of his time in the Middle East. He was born in Egypt. He was a student of the Ari, when the Ari was still in Egypt, okay, before he went to Safed. In other words, he was super young. And from there, this Rabbi Hayim Kohen became so big and so famous that they called for him in Halab, and that's where he became famous. And he's known as Rabbi Hayim Kohen Aram Soba. And that's where he did the majority of his writing. And this Siddur was put together by one of his, I don't know if his student or his student's student, Hakam Shelamu Abadi, who printed it in Salonika in 1741. In the Siddur, the Berakhah is right there with the Kudot in regular font. See, he doesn't mention that Siddur in here at all. Hanoten Laya'ef Koah, it's right. Yeah, we'll tell him about it. No worry. But it's there. Now, he's talking about different fonts and smaller size. So this Siddur, Amsterdam 1779, also approximately the same time period. This is also Tefilat Yesharim that he talked about Meldula, but this is the one that was done later on by Hakam Hayim Binyamin Me'aliya Kohen. There were two of these Hakamim, a grandfather and a grandson. Both were very, very famous, and both were part of the chief rabbinate of Jerusalem. And they published this in Amsterdam. What does he have in this Siddur over here? This is the book that I mentioned to you once before, Ralph, that has the entire year in one Siddur. Okay?
Oh, yeah?
Where did you get it from?
Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, everything, all in one book.
Amazing.
Smaller font, no nikudot. But it's there.
I'm going to show it to the camera.
We could show it to the camera, sure. Can you see it?
No.
So, the Berakhah existed, and it was said, and it was embraced. Now, if you want to keep talking about Berachot like this, there's another whole other situation to prove, at least in my opinion, that Rabbi Yosef Karo changed his position and changed his mind. And that's because Ora Hayim was printed earlier than Ibn Ha'izr, right? And there is another Berakhah that he talks about, which also has no basis in the Talmud, and he accepts it to be said. And it's in the Shulchan Aruch. So therefore his rule that he put earlier on, how can you say Berakhah that's not there, doesn't hold water if later on he's putting a Berakhah that's not mentioned in the Talmud and he's saying to say it.
Yeah.
It's an example, we're going to get to it. But my point is that you can't look at something from one angle only. You have to look at the entire picture. And it's a very, very broad issue, and you have to understand that, again, only I guess because it bothers me because I deal with certain individuals a lot, that they want to put themselves back 1,000 years and say halakha stopped. And I can't stand it. Halakha did not stop. And as far as minhag is a different issue where there are rules of berachot. And one of the rules of berachot is that if you're not sure whether a berakhah should be said or shouldn't be said, look around and see if the custom is for that people are saying it, that means it's okay to be said, and it was established by Hachamim, and you may not understand their reason, but let the minhag continue and let that berakhah continue to be said. That is one of the rules of berachot. It's one of the keladim, and it's brought down by all our sources. Even the most modern source that would bring it, Rabbi Moshe Levi alav Shalom, in his Birkot Hashem, he brings that kelal over there. And we have this kelal in Acham Yosef, and we have this kelal in Bihayim Davi Levi, and we have this kelal before that in Eres Haim Sittehon. It's an established kelal, established rule in Berachot, that a Berakhah that we see that the minhag, the custom is for everybody to say, and people are always saying it, that's an established Berakhah. And even if we don't understand it, the Berakhah continues.
We did a class on that. We did many classes.
We did classes. We touched upon it many times. There's more to be said. You can do classes on that topic forever. It doesn't end. So this is something that I felt we had to talk about. Now, I'll go pull out more if you want. It's not a problem to pull out more. You say I have books behind me, I have more books inside. It doesn't end. There's more I read this paper, the more it bothers me.
I want to see a couple
the
more.
The more
I want to go like 1500s.
I know. But I want to hear from you guys first. I want comments. I want feedback.
I ain't arguing with you.
It's not arguable. It's not argue. I want to hear what you feel about it.
Did you go back to the guy who wrote the article?
No. I wanted to do this class first.
Okay.
Then we'll send this to him, and then he'll answer. And I'm purposely not mentioning his name because I have nothing against him. I just don't like what he wrote.
Okay.
Respectful.
Yeah. And that's why I didn't say certain things.
I have a more general question.
Please.
Don't they feel like the Hachamim throughout the years, do they write about how to reconcile, like, with the Shilosham and the Hara'an not mentioning this Berakhah? They try to reconcile this principle that Harambam brings down. I'm just saying, it is a question amongst that people have, and people that study, and has anybody written about it, try to reconcile the issue or try to give an answer for it?
In my searching for this topic, I saw nobody who even touched it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Right, I'm just quite
Okay.
curious.
Could be Hacham talks about it in Yabi'a Umar. I didn't open up Yabi'a Umar in searching this topic, but I know he deals with Hanoten Laya'ef Koah at least 3 different places in Yabi'a Umar. But I just never got to it. So it could be he does deal with it over there. What else? I'll give you the reference points. You can look it up, Mark.
Okay.
No, seriously.
I want to. Interesting.
To me, it's more important to uphold an established minhag instead of crushing it.
That I agree with.
That's something that's very, very important to me because all I see is people trying to constantly destroy our traditions. These are traditions that it's not like some idiot, off the street made them up. Hachamim that established them, followed through on them, made sure that they taught the people, these things. And we don't know of other Hachamim coming out against. To me, that's a very important thing. Because it was something that troubled them or bothered them. We would see teshubot about it. We would see something, all of a sudden the people are making this extra berakhah. Where did it come from? Why are they doing it? How are they doing it? Was not one teshubah like that.
Everybody say it now? Or really you would say Yemenites don't say it and
Yemenites don't say it.
Spanish, Portuguese say it?
I don't know. I didn't open the Siddur to check. We could check that. Let's take a look right now. So as we know, the Yemenites do not make this berakhah. As far as you asked about Spanish, Portuguese. So I looked in the Siddur of Hacham Moshe Gaster, London 1901. The berakhah is not there. So I open up Keter Shem Tov now. Keter Shem Tov, volume 1, page 18. Regarding Spanish, Portuguese, he tells you, En mebarchin berkat Hanoten Laya'ef Koah, u'ba'asmat mebarchin. Ba'asmat meaning Be'eretz Israel, Syria, Togarma, Misraim. This berakhah is said. So in other words, the entire Middle East, North Africa, Ottoman Empire region, the berakhah is said. He says nothing else about it on top. Let's see if there's anything about it on the bottom. לפי ספר הטור אור החיים בסימן מ"ו שהברכה הזאת היא רק בסידורי האשכנזים והבית יוסף שם כתב אף על פי שיש סמך יפה לברכה הזו מאחר שלא נזכרה בתלמוד איני יודע איך היה רשות לבני אדם תקנה ומסרתי שכתב האתגור שראה מקטרגים עליה בטעם זה והרמב"ם והרוקח לא הזכירוה וגם הסמ"ג לא הזכירה כאן לשונו אם כן סדקו ספרדים בלונדון ואמסטרדם שהשמיטוה ואבו דרהם הזכירה בשם יש אומרים ברכה זו נשאר לנו לדעת איך הספרים בישראל אומרים אותה מסרתי סידור הנקרא מועדי השם הנדפס בירושלים שם ירושלים בהסכמת הגאון הראשון לציון מוזקני הרב רבי חיים אברהם גגין ושם תמצא את הברכה הזאת במאמר מוסגר שלא לאומרה ונפסה לאלו הנוהגים לאומרה ותמה אני בדברי הבית יוסף שכתב בפני שברכה זו איננה מוזכרה בתלמוד וגמור הלא גם ברכה פוקע חברים אינה שינויה בתלמוד. So he's telling you over here פוקע חברים is also not in the Gemara. He goes, so what's the problem? ועל כל זה הרמב"ם הזכירה בכל ישראל אומרים אותה. So פוקע חברים is telling you is not in the Gemara. הרמב"ם mentions it and everybody says it. ולדעתי כברכה זו נתקנה בימי השמד בעין שישראל נרדפו מהאומות וחשבו לכלותם ועינו אותם למען ימירו דתם ועל כל זה עמדו בניסיון ובפני זה נהגו לברך הנותן ליעף כוח. So he's telling his opinion that this was obviously a Berakhah that was established at a time of severe persecution, that the Jews were being chased and attacked and destroyed, and they thought they weren't, be able to survive, from one day to the next. And they started to say this Berakhah, Hanoten Laya'ef Koah. We're exhausted, and thank God we woke up in the morning, you're giving us the strength to keep, pushing on, whether it's to fight or to run, whatever it may be. It's not
Kabbalistic.
What?
So it's not Kabbalistic.
No, he's telling you it's not. ויש נוהגים לברך ליעף כוח ואין דבריהם נראים וחולק עם גם שם משם הכלכלה שאחד אחד העיד שמע כי מרא בסוף ימיו חזר והוא מזה שם אמר של שום וכן דעת רעזה וכן כתב שבלו נוטה וסמס חיים ונוגע לניקוד ועד כזה. That's it. So he says it's very nice that they don't say it in London and Amsterdam among the Sephardim because it's not mentioned, but it's not only in Berakhah that's not mentioned, Pogah Havrim is not mentioned either, and everybody says it. So, whatever your custom is, follow your custom. He says, he goes, I saw a Siddur that was published by my grandfather or great-grandfather who was chief rabbi that Rishon LeZion, he tells you, B'Chaim Gegin, and it's there, in parentheses. Those who say it, those who don't say it, don't say it, and, and it's very nice as well. He had no problem with it either way. But he told you straight out that throughout the Middle East and North Africa, the Berakhah was said. Okay, and obviously that's the way he grew up. So that's as far as Spanish Portuguese. And as we know, Yemenites do not say it. What else? Ralph, yeah,
Should we bring back Magbiya Shefarim?
Should you bring back Magbiya Shefarim?
What does it mean again? Magbiya Shefarim, what is it?
Basically, you're raising up those who are downtrodden.
Don't we say that, sort of? Wait.
Pokeh
Havrim.
Pokeh Havrim is opening up. The theme is straightening out those who are,
Similar.
Sounds a little bit
similar, but it's not the same thing. Yes, go ahead.
Sounds like they work.
How
well in
about
our
I heard
community
one
right
time
now
in a
that
class about Berakhah, Melmed Torah L'Mo Yisrael.
Right.
Are we supposed to say it? Because God doesn't, it was mentioned that God doesn't teach the Jews the Torah. Moshe taught the Jews Torah, or the rabbis, Chachamim made the Torah. So, yeah, I heard it was in a class once.
One more time?
Yeah, say that one more time.
Here.
I'm not understanding.
Yeah.
I know what the Berakhah is, but I'm not saying what he's trying to say.
Saying it's not actual that God is actually teaching the Jews Torah. It's that, and the Chachamim teach the Torah. So how could we say it in Berakhah with God's name? You never heard anything on that?
Pilpul, no. It does. To me, that sounds like Ashkenazi Pilpul. It doesn't sound like the way of thinking. Because there's something that we see, anything Torah related is God related. Has to be.
Ralph, do you have any comments?
You're probably
good.
It's just Israeli.
I like adding that other Berakhah back. It makes sense for these times. You know, people are stressed. Look them up. Why are we not praying for them? Why do we drop it?
But wait, now you lost me completely. We don't have an established custom to say it. If you're Italian, you're an Italian Jew. Let me get you Italian.
There we go.
Yeah, we like the pizza.
You know, what's wrong with being Italian?
Klutz kasha. Klutz, you know, like a klutz.
Staying on it, staying on
Kasha means stupid. Or kasha means question. Klutz means like, you know, you're klutz. Like, so klutz kasha is like a stupid question. That's what it is.
No, Rob, you're trying to say Harambam doesn't say Hamel Mitzvah, right?
Basically.
Yes. Harambam says, he says no Torah twice.
Oh, is that right? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if Andrew has a bunch of Siddurim that have this stuff
I like
in
to
it.
see that also.
Wouldn't you think
So here's the Italian
I do it.
Siddur. Baruch atah Hashem Eloheinu Melech Maghbiyah Shefalim. It's right there. The whole order of the Berachot is also very different.
But that was never an R
What thing
Siddurim
actually
ever.
would you say?
It's just Italian?
I haven't
Whose
seen it.
Siddur is
Yeah,
it?
that's what I'm saying.
This is Italian.
It didn't
I
exist.
texted it.
Do you have like each one dated
read
like
it.
on the
I'll
front
show
page,
you.
like what year it's from, or you know?
Well, the
just by heart?
publishers do that for you.
No,
It's
for
right there.
yourself. I don't. That's in Hebrew.
No, I can figure it out.
He knows.
I'm not gonna figure out Hebrew.
It's not hard to figure it
No, I
out.
think you should put them in order, like
In your order?
1530, 1620, like you know,
No problem.
on the outside on the binding.
So you know which ones to come in and steal? No. So let's see. Where is this?
He has his Jewish mother.
Huh?
No, I'm not. Really? Seriously, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Berakhah, come on now.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Your stuff. What do you eat?
Yeah, you gotta back out a little. If you can't get into the camera like that.
My shadow.
It's a good picture.
So there's a weird Berakhah. Okay, which, of course, Harambam doesn't like. And I'm not going to do it justice, but let's touch upon it for a second. So as we know, Harambam, besides all his other famous books, he has responsa as well. People asked him questions and he answered. So here's a question. ותורנו, הדרת מורנו ורבנו משה, הרב המובהק, הפטיש החזק, יחיד הדור ופלאו, ממזרח שמש עד מבואו, ירום הודו ויגדל כיבודו, ויהי אלוהים מסעדו. במה שנהגו החזנים לומר ניגונים ופיוטים, או שאר שירים ותשבחות, או שירים לחתן או למילה וכיוצא, ואומרים זה באמצע הברכות שקודם קריאת שמע, ולאחר קריאת שמע בשחרית ובערבית ובלילי המועדים, עד כי בערבית לילי ימים טובים, רוב בני אדם אין בדעתם במה שאומר החזן, ואינם יודעים אם הוא בברכות ופיוטים. כל כבלדנה יהיו דברינו אל נוכח פני משה אדוננו, ויראנו מה נעשה אם יוכל לומר זה באמצע הברכות, או לאחר הברכות, או קודם התחלת הקדיש, אחר והוא רחום, יאמר הפיוטים, ואחר כך יתחיל ולא יפסיק, או לא שנה. That's question number one. Has nothing to do with our topic. We're going to ignore that answer for now. Here comes the part that we're interested in. The question. וכן תורנו הדרתו, מה עניין הברכה הנקראת ברכת בתולים? What is the issue of this berakhah, which is called berakhah of betulim? Okay? Like a betula, a virgin. Berakhah betulim. Vehi asher sag egoz began aiden. That's the berakhah. Vehine יבואו העדה שושביני החתן והכלה וקירוביהם בית החתן. So the ushers of the bride and groom come, and all the relatives, they arrive to the בית חתן. ויקח המברך כוס בידו ויאמר בורא פרי הגפן, ויברך על הבשמים, ואחר כך מברך אשר סג אגוז בגן עדן, etc. ופותחת בשם V'chotemet b'Hashem kishar berachot. And it's Berakhah said B'Shem Hashem, front and back, like all other berachot. Yorenu more sedek ma tiba shel Berakhah zo imhi din o minhag. What is the nature of this Berakhah? Is it a law or is it a custom? וכן מברכים אחר כך 7 ברכות, ואף כי לא יהיה שום סעודה. And afterwards I say 7 ברכות, there's no סעודה. וגם אין פנים חדשות כלל. יורנו מורנו אם יכולים לברך ברכות אלו או לא, והיה שכרו כפול מהשם. Okay. So first he goes to answer the first question, which we're ignoring for now. Okay? And he goes to answer the second part, which we're concerned with. Umnam, Berakhah zot hanekret berkat bitulim harehi Berakhah lebatala b'li safek. He does Berakhah lebatala ki hu davar megunneh. It's a disgusting thing. It's odd. Lo yada'ati lamma yisaduha ve'lamma tiknu ba kiddush. I don't know why they established it and why they made a kiddush for it. Ve'korin oto קידוש בתולים, and they call it קידוש בתולים. אין לך דבר מגונה מזה, ומי שהוא בעל שכל, אל יתראה עצמו בחברה כגון זאת. Anybody who has a head on his shoulder, don't mix with those type of people that are making this Berakhah. V'chatab Moshe, and he answers the answer over there. So obviously we need to look at now the footnotes which are included here. Now the footnotes here, let me give you an idea what we're reading from. So, Rabbi David Yosef. Rabbi David Yosef, first thing he ever wrote was a commentary on a select number of responsa of Harambam. Okay? He wrote this back in 84. And it's been printed over and over again. It's one of the most least famous books out there. Okay, but among people that are into Harambam, it's very famous. Among yeshiva students, for some reason, it's an interesting anomaly, and that's why they keep reprinting it, because yeshiva students seem to want it. Okay? And I'm not talking about necessarily, you know, black hat, white hat. I'm talking about like Merkaz Harav. They find it very interesting. The selection of questions that were chosen for this volume and his commentary on it. But I don't know, about 140 tishubot, 156 tishubot in this volume. Harambam wrote hundreds of tishubot. So, where do we begin? Give me a second. So let's, the main footnote over here is the last footnote on this teshubah. And he writes, Hine ba'al hilchot gedolot katab, ve'echad mapik le'mudera, מחיה לבורכה איכה כסה ועשה מברך אלוהי בורף רגפן ועשה בסמים והדר ברוך אתה השם אלוקינו מלך העולם אשר סך ארוז בגן עדן שושנת העמקים בל ימשול זר במעין חתום על כן עילת אהבים שמרה בטהורה חוק לא הפרה ברוך הבוחר בזרעו של אברהם. You ever hear this Berakhah in your life?
Yeah.
And you probably never will. עד כאן. וכן כתב בסדר רב עמרם גאון. So now we have בעל הלכות גדולות. The Bahag has the Berakhah. רב עמרם גאון has the Berakhah. ושם כתב החתימה. And he added the חתימה. ברוך אתה השם הבוחר בזרעו של אברהם אבינו. עין שם. וכן הביא האור זרוע. Another ראשון. חלק ראשון. ברכה זו בשם השאלתות דרב אחי גאון. So he quotes one of the גאונים. ולא נמצא כן בשאלתות שלפנינו. But in our שאלתות that we have, we don't have this text. וכן מבואר בתשובות הגאונים הרקבי, בשם רב האי גאון. וכתב שם שברכה זו ליטה בתלמוד אלא קבלה היא מפי החכמים. Yes, this Berakhah is missing in the Talmud, but this is an established custom that they have from the Hachamim that predated them. That's what the Geonim was saying. In other words, we know that we have a tradition, an oral tradition of this Berakhah. ועיין שם שנוסח הברכה שונה מהנוסח שהובא בהלכות גילות. And over there, the text is different than what's in the Bahag. וכן הביאו ברכה זו במחזור ויטרי, חלק ב'. Now it goes to רשות אשכנז. He told him מחזור ויטרי, ספר הרוקח והראש. They all have it. And Rabbi David Abu Dirham. We're back to Spain now. He has it. והטור Ibn Azar. ורבנו ירוחם, who we know that the Beit Yosef quotes left and right. וכתב בשם הרב ניסים שצריכה כוס ואין לה ברכה בלא כוס. This ברכה you must say it with a cup of wine. ובשולחן ערוך כתב ויש אומרים שאחר שמסע בתולי מברך ברוך אתה השם אלוקינו מלך העולם אשר סך ארוז בגן עדן. והרמה בהגהה שם הביא דברי רבנו ירוחם שאין לברך ברכה זו בלא כוס. ועיין בבית חדש או ראש בית שם ודרישה שם שכתב בשם מהרשע שלא נהגו לברך ברכה זו. ועיין מחוש משפט שכתב שהרי והרמב"ם לא הביאו ברכה זו שאמינה דלסי בירדהו כבעל הלכות גדלו לברך ברכה זו. Okay, so and he keeps going on and on quoting the sources about it, but the point is that Shulchan Aruch brought it. The yesh noagim lebareh beracha zo. He didn't squash it. He didn't tell you it's not in the Rambam, it's not in the Rif. He didn't tell you it's not in the Talmud. He just brought it. Yesh noagim, no problem. You want to say it? It's your custom to say it. Hey.
So you're saying it's inconsistent with that?
It's inconsistent, or I think it's more not
written
being
later?
inconsistent. It's later because he wrote this
Right.
later on, you know, and he changed his position. He didn't feel that you need to have it necessarily something from the Talmud. It could be something that there is a tradition among the Hachamim to say it, and go ahead and say it. If that's if he's using the same term. Yesh nohagim to say this Berakhah. He said yesh nohagim to say Berakhah. But over there he said I don't know how they put it in. And he quotes on and on, but nothing. He's just giving you more sources that have this Berakhah or mentions this Berakhah, and that's all he talks about in this footnote. So,
Okay.
I think that
Right.
my point is that I think that the Berakhah of Hanoten Laya'ef Koah should not be eradicated. I think it's very important to keep it there. I think it's important that our Hachamim were saying it and they did not come out against it. And I can't see any reason that anybody should be against it except if they follow everything and only Al Pi Harambam. But if they're doing anything differently than Harambam, then they also being what's the wording that he used over here? Pick and choose.
Why? People can pick and choose.
Oh, so now you're saying people can, but that's his whole argument.
No, I'm not saying his argument's good. If you want to say you can pick and choose, you can pick a bomb here and then not on somewhere else.
Fine, if that's what you're doing. But he doesn't seem to be going that route.
No, I don't know what he's doing.
I don't know what he's doing either. I'm sure he's going to hear this class and he'll respond.
But we can admit we all do that, right? We all pick and choose.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
That's good.
Absolutely we do.
that's...
But we do it based upon studying issues. We don't do it just, haphazardly. And if you do it, just because I'm not in the mood, then you're not being, that's not being,
Honest.
it's more than just honest. It's just outright crude.
Disingenuous.
Disingenuous, perfect word. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyway, that's my take on his short piece of halacha. So if somebody was to come to ask me, I would tell you definitely say the Berakhah, continue to say the Berakhah. Your father said it, your grandfather said it, your great-grandfather said it. They all said it, and they learned it from their Hachamim to say it. I see no reason to stop it. And that's it. Anybody have anything that we should add to this?
Mark?
I'm just curious where Harambam, I'd like to know where he got this principle. Ezra,
I don't know. I never looked.
It's interesting. I want to do that to you. Maybe we could do that next week.
All right. Well, good.